Okay, we are back, and both the clerk and myself have been on a fact-finding mission. Councillor Deal. So I think I'll ask the clerk to provide the information that might assist with your vote on this.
Madam Deputy Mayor, the procedure bylaw requires that or specifies that individuals make requests to speak prior to the start of the meeting. The individual in this case was not aware of that rule, hence the lateness of the request.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If it's useful for council to know, because I know this has happened to some other speakers at other times, the speaker also advised me that he had let a councillor know that he intended to speak and thought that that sufficed for proper notice, but that councillor did not then let the clerk know, which is why we are in this position today, or right now. So that's where we're at. We do have a motion on the floor from Councillor Ball to suspend the procedure bylaw. We are technically in the queue to debate the motion, but I think everybody on this queue also wants to debate the procedure bylaw suspension motion. Am I, Councillor Carr? No. So do you mind if I advance you and we can go to Councillor DiGenova? Okay. Councillor DiGenova, you have the floor on the procedure bylaw suspension motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I just do want to mention that, yes, the speaker had reached out to me, seeing that it was my motion, and I had advised that this is how, I had advised of the steps that you take to sign up for a meeting. I had understood that he was signing up to speak, and that's why I had actually emailed the clerk to ask if there were any speakers, and I did email the clerk at the start of the meeting. It was my understanding that he was calling in this morning. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to him since he had asked me about that yesterday. So that's my understanding. Also, what I would say, Councillor Ball has mentioned that we have made exceptions in the past, but also that today is not exactly what we would usually see, where we would have council and a committee in the same day. So I would support allowing the speaker, if he's willing to come back to speak to the motion. I think it's always helpful for council to hear from the public, but that's I will be supporting Councillor Ball's referral to committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor DiGenova. Oops, okay, sorry, that was an oops for me, not for the whole meeting. I pressed the wrong button. Councillor Carr, to the procedure bylaw motion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, thank you for that explanation and for the work to figure out what has gone on here. As all of you know, I am always and normally 100% on board for hearing from citizens and making sure that we make every effort to ensure that we hear from citizens when they want to speak to us on issues. And I also believe that the procedure bylaws are important. And if there is, in my mind, any reasonable doubt that the procedure bylaws are not fully explained or available to people, and that there was a misunderstanding, I'm absolutely open to changing the order of business. In this case, suspending the procedure or suspending our bylaws in order to hear from a speaker. But I did just hear Councillor DiGenova say that she had informed the speaker of the process to sign up. I can't speak to this.
Councillor DiGenova, if you want to provide further information,
Yes.
Push the button, and you can do that when it's your time.
That would be fine.
Okay.
What I heard was that how to sign up was fully explained, and that the individual didn't do that. And that puts me in a quandary. If it was fully explained, why didn't the speaker sign up in terms of following that procedure? So I am in a quandary. It does not lead me to be sympathetic to suspending the our rules in order to hear from a speaker who has been well informed. Now, if that's not the case, I'm happy to hear that that's not the case, but my understanding as of now is that the speaker, the person who intended to speak, was aware and knew about the process and didn't follow it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor DiGenova, you have about 1:60 left.
Thank you. Just to clarify, perhaps I was too general. I had explained to the speaker that you have to call 311. I was actually in between meetings when I spoke to the potential speaker. I wasn't exactly sure at the moment which motion he was speaking of until he mentioned this. So I had said that you call 311. I did not give him a time or a deadline or a date. That being said, I also understood that he thought that the committee meeting was on Wednesday. So I asked him to call 311. I'm not sure what they had told him or if he was able to get through to them, but that's all I did is I asked him to call 311 to sign up because I didn't even have the exact number of the city clerk on me at the time. I was in my vehicle. So I hope that offers some clarity for Councillor Carr, and I apologize to the speaker for not being more clear as to the times and rules and deadlines, but I had very limited time when I picked up the phone to speak to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeGenova. Okay, well, hopefully everybody has enough information. I would say that it's fairly clear that the speaker would benefit from mentorship on signing up for council speakers. Councillor DeGenova, we're going to move to a vote. A reminder for folks, because this is a suspension of rules vote under 6.8 of the procedure bylaw, we do need a 2/3 vote, which by my math is 5 out of 8 people must vote in favor in order for it to pass. So I will take us to the voting queue with any luck. Yes, I have done that. And we are ready to go. Okay, so the motion passes because we have 5 out of 8. Okay, so that means we are done with debate for now because we've suspended it. The names in opposition were Councillor Stevenson, Councillor Deal, and Councillor Meigs. Okay, so that brings us to what? We now probably need a motion to refer this to either this afternoon, somewhere, probably this afternoon's committee. Any takers on that motion? Thank you, Councillor Deal. So it's been moved to refer. I think I need a seconder because we are no longer in committee of whole. Thank you, Councillor Ball. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is referred. Okay. We are on to notice of motion, new business, inquiries, and other matters. I did have an item that I wanted to ask the city manager about to start us off, which is the issue around the downtown east side street vending that I know you reported at the last council meeting, but wanted to know, I don't think it would be reasonable to ask for a full update now, but any information you could provide us, but probably more importantly, I'd very much like to get a memo to council on where things are at this point with the program that has been undertaken there.
So do you want me to provide, Madam Chair, a brief update now and a memo later? Or?
That'd be great.
Okay. Brief update is, as we indicated in our last memo on this, that a multidisciplinary team from the city has been working with the Street Vending Association there to improve the vending at the sanctioned vending location. And then our team has been working on the block to encourage vendors to vend from that location. And we've been working on that for the last couple of weeks. But the development and establishment of the sanctioned vending locations has been underway for several months, probably 4 or 5 months. And overall, we've been working very closely with many of the organizations in the downtown east side, and we haven't issued any tickets. We certainly haven't been telling people that they can't hang out there or sleep there, and it's been a very light touch from all of our staff. And certainly have been engaging with some of the stakeholder organizations that may have concerns about the activities there, but overall, we're hearing a lot of positive feedback and thank yous for folks that can now walk the sidewalk there. And So, it's been a pretty concerted effort from our team to try to encourage vendors to be at the sanctioned vending locations, and I'm happy to provide more information via memo.
Okay, and so no tickets have been given out for vending, no tickets for anything in that area?
I mean, I'm sure speeding tickets and other tickets in that general area have been issued, but certainly no, it's been very clear with all of our staff that we're not issuing any tickets for vending or other activities, specifically related to what's been taking place in and around the sidewalk in that block.
Okay, that's great, and I think a memo would be of assistance. I'd be interested also at the statement that went out yesterday spoke to the homeless shelters that have been opened quicker than we anticipated in the area, in some sense of if that's assisting people with finding better shelter.
Yeah, and I really want to be clear with Mayor and Council, with Madam Chair and Council that we have not in any way tried to prevent people from sleeping on the block there. We, at times, our social workers throughout the downtown east side would let people know that shelters are open, and we did open them as early as we possibly could. So the no ticketing is certainly the message to our staff on the ground there, but also we have not, I know there's been some word in the media that we're trying to stop people from gathering there or from sleeping there, and that's not the case.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for the update.
Provide a memo. Thank you.
Thanks. Next on the agenda, we have Councillor Deal under Notice of Motion, New Business Inquiries and Other Matters.
Thank you very much, Chair Reimer. I've got 3 things I wanted to make a note of that happened in this last week. First of all, last night, Councillor Ball and I were very, very pleased and honored to be able to launch the official opening of the BMO Theatre in the Olympic Village. This is a collaboration between the Arts Club Theatre and Bard on the Beach. And they have come together to fill a space that was originally intended for the Playhouse Theatre Production Company, which then obviously was not able to fulfill that requirement or that space itself. And through a lot of work of our cultural services staff as well as the local theatre community, we found that just the right partners for the space. It's absolutely fabulous. And Councillor Ball may wish to speak more about that when she comes on the queue as a theatre person, but it was a really great event. I also wanted to acknowledge that yesterday we had the launch of Buy Local Week, and there were many, many events around town, including one that I was able to attend on 4th Avenue, and I believe, it was the shop your neighborhood that you were also involved in. We've had 2 initiatives this week about buying local, and it's just so important in this time of the year when we're encouraged to go shopping so often that we remember that if we buy local, both local shop owners as well as locally produced goods as well as local services, that helps our local economy as well as keeping people employed in the city, and it's just a lot more fun than buying the same thing as your neighbor's going to buy. And then the third thing I wanted to acknowledge is the Eastside Culture Crawl. They had another amazing year. The weather was great this year, which meant that they had an even bigger turnout than normal. They've expanded to 4 days, starting on Thursday evening now. They have over 20,000 visitors, 400 plus artists, and 78 buildings involved. And I hear there were a few house parties as well that might have been involved in the process. Anyway, it was an amazing event with great art around, and there might even be a staff person right behind me whose studio was involved with it. Mr. Johnston. But I encourage you, if you went to the crawl, and I think a lot of you did, that you go to their website and take their survey, because they're trying to decide about whether that expansion of their hours is working for them, any suggestions that you have. But go out and support those artists again year-round. Find those artists and shop with them locally to buy presents if you're going to do so over the holiday season, because it's an amazing art event and an amazing artist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Deal. Councillor Genova, I'm sorry, I spent too much time in Italy, and without the I there, it just doesn't inspire the D sound.
Actually, my relatives changed it when they came to Canada, as nobody could say Di Genova.
Yeah.
And I won't make everyone say that here. That being said, I have a few, I was going to bring forward an urgent motion, but I understand that we've received a memo now from staff on the Lion Hotel. That being said, I'm looking forward to reviewing this. I haven't had a chance as we've been in council this morning. But furthermore than the Lion Hotel, I would like to look, and I'm hoping to be able to ask questions of staff after this, and perhaps staff could even comment on this now, regarding what we could be doing, not just to deal with the Lion Hotel specifically, but other hotels that may find themselves in this conundrum, especially during the winter months when people find themselves without heat and hot water in our downtown east side that houses our most vulnerable residents.
Wasn't sure if that was directing a question or just giving me the
It was both, so.
It was
microphone.
both.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I think just in the last month, I provided 2 or 3 memos to Mayor and Council on the challenges that we're facing with the West, the Balmoral, the Lion. So these issues constantly come up. We are hampered by the fact that these are governed in many cases either by the tenancy branch in the province. And in this case, the 60 days is also governed by our charter, which doesn't allow us to go in and make improvements and charge the owner sooner than the 60-day order. So these buildings certainly provide a lot of challenge for us, and we're happy to provide an update to you in camera on some of the options that we've been evaluating for how we might more aggressively address this. We had scaffolding issues, we had elevator issues. You know, the challenge is these buildings are old and they are used very hard. And oftentimes the property owners aren't even making ends meet with the rents that they're getting. So they don't have a ton of extra money to put into them, or they're absentee owners and they're hard to get a hold of. So there are a lot of challenges that staff face on these buildings, and it's certainly something that we take very, very seriously. We spend a lot of time and energy on them and trying to address the challenges with them, and happy to discuss with you more that we can do in emergency situations such as this.
Great, thank you so much. I will hold my urgent motion then and await further information from staff. That being said, I also have an inquiry regarding Little Italy. I know that council had received a memo on that. However, I also attended this weekend the tree lighting on Commercial Drive. I was invited by the Commercial Drive BIA to light the tree, and I can't tell you how many times I was asked if the Little Italy designation would be made in time for Italian Days, which will be coming up in 2016, in the summer of 2016. So just hoping if staff can clarify. I know there was some timelines involved in that memo, but if you could clarify that, that would be great for me to have that information. And also I just wanted to mention that I had the opportunity to go by the Van City Buzz pop-up shop, which opened in Chinatown. It was only open for a few days, but they have an online store that is now up for the holidays, which supports local vendors and made in Vancouver products. And just wanted to mention that to all of my colleagues, hoping that we're all shopping local and buying local, and that we're also remembering at this time of year the food bank. And I know that a lot of us attend a number of events throughout the city, but I've been heartened to see a number of food bank donation bins wherever I go, and I try and make a donation. So that's all of the information that I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor DeGenova. Councillor Affleck.
Madam Chair, just a real quick question for Mr. Johnson. I think we've all received emails from residents of the Grandview Woodland neighborhood, and I know I think I received an email internally, but I wonder if you could just clarify publicly where the process is for the plan and why they were asking. A lot of the questions are why are staff not reaching out to the residents at this point in time, and perhaps you can clarify that process and where it's at for those residents who are asking us those questions. That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Affleck. I think I did send a memo on it providing an update, so I'm going to try to remember at this point, so I may send a follow-up to give you the more specifics. But
Mr. City Manager, I think it'd be fine just to resend the memo if you'd like. It sounds like Councillor Affleck's intention is information.
Yeah, why don't I just really briefly, just because I'm sure there's millions watching at home, they want to get the update right away. So at this point, we have received the work that our panel put together, and we are evaluating their recommendations, and we'll be coming back to council in the spring with our assessment of the work that was done and recommendations for the plan. So we're on a spring timeline at this point to report back to council.
The specific question was related why staff aren't allowed to communicate, or why they're not communicating with residents, or why there's sort of this quiet time, and why that happened.
This quiet time, I'm not sure I'd refer to it as that, but we did go out and do a lot of consultation for several years, as you know, and then there was the development of a committee, and that committee did a lot of work and a lot of consultation. We now have the results of all of that work, and we're evaluating the input from the committee as well as the response from our consultation. As you know, we've done a lot of consultation in the community. We're now, as staff, doing our evaluation of the outcome of the committee and the consultation work, and we'll be coming back with recommendations to council. So I don't think I'd categorize it as quiet time, but we have done our consultation work, and we'll be coming back to council with our recommendations.
Hey, Councillor Ball.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to Councillor Deal for mentioning last evening at the Arts Club and Bard on the Beach opening. I do think that last night was actually a real proof of don't give up on the dream, because building that building is over just about a decade now to be able to get that going. And the wonderful event last night was truly just a real proof of the kind of work that the Arts Club Theatre and Bard on the Beach have done to become the two most successful theatre companies in the country. And one of the reasons certainly the Arts Club and Bard on the Beach recently have been able to move forward is because of the support by the city and the leverage that the city funds have provided. And I really want to thank council for being forethinking and realizing that what a difference those two companies have made in this community and how they can help all the other communities. Councillor Deal used the word ecology last night, and it truly is an ecology of being the large theaters help the smaller theaters, and everybody grows and serves the community. And last night I mentioned engagement, and we talk about engagement a lot. And certainly the Arts Club Theatre and Bard on the Beach have a community like no other. And together they reach hundreds of thousands of people throughout the Lower Mainland and bring a great deal of joy and a great deal of feeling of belonging. And that's what we talk about a lot. How do we make people care and belong to the city? Many people don't want to give concrete gifts because they're looking at that as a green action. And certainly buying tickets ahead of time, buying subscriptions to the theatre, certainly Bard on the Beach would be thrilled to sell their Christmas packages. And the Arts Club Theatre has a number of Christmas shows on at this particular time. So if you don't want to give things, go to the Arts Club and Bard on the Beach or any number of our wonderful arts organizations, ballet, theater, modern dance in the city, and buy your tickets. But as well, for those of you who want to buy something beautiful, the art gallery shop is open. I was there and it was crammed over the weekend. So I would encourage all of you to support our arts organizations anywhere you can, but most importantly, spend money. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ball. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Well, thank you for that encouragement, Councillor Ball. And I have to say, I already spent at the East Side Cultural Crawl way too much money on gifts, but it was an incredibly pleasurable experience. I have two points that I want to raise in terms of inquiries. The first is that this past week's Vancouver City Planning Commission meeting, to which I'm a liaison, the school board liaison raised the issue or reported on progress being made on the $400,000 program to feed the children in the schools. And he noted that it would feed, well, I asked the questions and he said about 1,400 students. And I asked what the need was and he said around 3,000. So, and Mr. Johnson, perhaps you know the answer to this. If not, I would just like a memo back or it doesn't have to be I just would like to know what the accuracy of that data is, or, really what the gap is. If we have a program in place, but it's only feeding half of the children that are in need, I'd like to know that. Great. Thank you. Second point, I don't know if, probably most of you are aware that, that this, I think because we got an email about it, this Thursday there's going to be a public engagement session around the site at 555 West Pender at our waterfront hub area, known as the kind of ice needle site. And the public engagement process, which will run from 4:30 to 7:30 at the Waterfront Hotel, is put on by the proponent, Cadillac Fairview, seeking, I guess, public input after its proposal was rejected by the Urban Design Panel. And in conversations with a number of people about that this week, people asked me what happened to the city's urban design studio that had been set up by former planner Mr. Beasley, and that apparently it's not with us anymore. And people were suggesting if this studio were in place, perhaps it would be easier for developers, because at the very beginning of their proposal coming forward, they would have an urban design team within our planning department that would be reviewing this. So I'm asking for some information about what happened to the urban design studio within our planning department, and if we've done an assessment on whether removing it was a good thing or not. Just, you know, a brief memo to that effect, I would very much appreciate.
Thank you. And I believe, I'm going to get used to this, Mr. City Manager, acting City Manager. There was a memo that went to council at the time that change was made, and Anita Malerno was put in as the ADM of urban design. So perhaps we could just get the same memo again and any updated information about how it's been going since that change was made. Councillor Meigs, you are up.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't going to rise on this matter, but since Councillor Carr started in it, I have a follow-up on 555 West Hastings. My conversations have been quite different. They haven't...
Sorry, Cordova, I assume.
Oh, sorry,
the,
Cordova.
The origami, former origami
Nice
site.
pick.
Yeah, okay.
My conversations have been quite different, which, and they flow from a decision made by this council, I think unanimously in 2009, to support the Central Waterfront Hub plan. And while I think urban design is very important, and the previous proposal by Cadillac Fairview was rejected by the Urban Design Panel, I think that there is concern in the wider community. It's clear from a story in the media today that that the Waterfront Hub plan, which is a policy of this council, is not being properly supported by some of the proposals that are coming forward. So I was glad that Councillor Carr made clear that the outreach and public engagement is an action of the proponent, which is great, but it's not the city seeking input on a new proposal there. It's the proponent. My fear is that people have lost sight of the plan and its objectives, which was to protect the opportunity for the city to create a central transportation hub that would knit together commuter rail, SkyTrain, bus service, possibly the seaplane and so forth, C-bus, and of course the passenger terminal down there, which some people hope someday will have high-speed trains going back up and down the Pacific seaboard. That's the reason why we have a Central Waterfront Hub plan, and that's the very big prize, which I think many people in the community are worried could be lost if there isn't a thoughtful approach to this development. So I have reread the plan, and I guess the point of this whole preamble is to Mr. Johnson to say, would he consider consulting with his senior team about maybe updating council on the plan and its parameters, because the previous process, which led to the rejection of the Urban Design Panel, did not require council oversight. It was an application for a development permit board approval, which fell down at the Urban Design Panel. But I just wonder if Mr. Johnson would consider perhaps reviewing with council at some time of his choosing the history of this whole thing, because there's so much public interest, and the current council may want to revisit some of the objectives that were set in 2009.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Meigs and Councillor Carr. The project obviously won't be brought forward by staff unless it furthers the plan. That we have a council adopted plan for that area, and the staff reviewing projects separate from the urban design components. You know, we won't bring forward a project unless we're very clear with you that it varies from the plan or it somehow hinders the plan. Our work is really implementing the plan that has been approved. But we'd be happy to come forward and refresh our collective memories on the plan itself and talk about the projects and the planning that's underway in that area and how it's moving the plan forward or potentially hindering it. So happy to do that update.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Johnson. Just to be clear, the concern is that the plan may be respected in technical terms and for that reason may never reach this council, on the processes that are laid out there. But there's a view in the community that the phasing of these developments, while they may be technically compliant with the plan, actually are contrary to the spirit of it. And so from that standpoint, councillors will all have a concern that we might be inadvertently prejudicing this thing by taking too narrow a view of the proposals that might come forward. And that's not to say that they wouldn't bring forward a brilliant proposal, but this is thought through quite well and in a very advanced way by the staff at the time. And I now note with some relief that everybody is saying it's, the plan is sound. It's just got fundamental flaws in some people's minds. So, you hear both now, but for a while we didn't hear anything positive about the plan, and I think it's important to go back to that.
So yeah, Council, we're happy to find in the near term, since this project will be generating some conversation among the public, we'll in the near term come forward with a discussion on that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Councillor DeGenova, you have already spoken, so I need to advance Councillor Stevenson past you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor
Just
Stevenson.
a reminder that today is World AIDS Day, which is noted around the world. And we in Vancouver are particularly lucky because we have a Center for Excellence for AIDS with Dr. Leo Montaner, who is world renowned, of course. But we remember the people who have died throughout decades now, not just in North America, but around the world. Africa is particularly bad. However, there have been great strides in recent years, and a lot of individuals are living much, much longer and having very normal lives thanks to the various drugs that are now available. The key in many places is to make sure that those drugs are available at a reasonable price. But there is going to be a number of activities today on World AIDS Day. Unfortunately, most of us can't attend any because we're in council and committee this afternoon. But just to remember those people and many who, when this terrible disease first broke out, had no hope. There was no hope. They simply died after a very difficult time. I personally remember when we first began to hear about this mysterious drug and a rather mysterious disease, and people were dying and we had no idea why or what, and then all of the prejudice that went particularly for gay men around this disease. But now, of course, we know exactly what the virus is and how to deal with it, and people are living longer. And we look forward to a time when it's eradicated completely. But that's not for a while. But in the meantime, we're so fortunate here to have Dr. Julio Montaner and to have the Center for AIDS Excellence. And we have had a couple of the AIDS conferences here in Vancouver, international conferences, which have led to so much progress. So just remember that today is World AIDS Day.
Thanks, Councillor Stevenson. An important reminder. Councillor DeGenova, you've got about a minute left.
Thank you very much. I'll be very fast. I had forgotten to mention that I had the opportunity to bring greetings from the city and open the European Union Film Festival the other night. And I just wanted to remind everyone that the film festival is on until December 9th, and this is the 18th year that we're having it here in Vancouver. And this is the first year that we have all 28 countries from the European Union that have chose a film to participate. So I hope that if you have any time free, I know that many councillors won't, as there are many events to attend, please go and check that out. I love the tagline for the festival is Europe without the jet lag. So please go and check that out. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor DeGenova. A couple of topical things I might add, just because they came up in other folks' reports, to the issue around child poverty and specifically child hunger. Every November 24th, the First Call Child and Youth Advocates released the annual child poverty report card. November 24th, notable because it was the day in the federal parliament 19 years ago when the federal MPs voted unanimously that they would end child poverty by the year 2000. So here we are in 2015, and of course poverty rates for children have significantly increased since the time of that vote 19 years ago. It's worth, well, of course it'd be worth it, but I'd really encourage people to check out the new report card. The web address for it is still 1 in 5, with 1 and 5 being numerals, not words, .ca, not the easiest website, but there you have it. The report card's quite easy to digest the information of this year. I would note that of the 5 highest poverty rate census tracts in the province, 3 of them are in the city of Vancouver in the neighborhoods that you would imagine they're in, and why the breakfast program and support for food programs is so important. I would note that in the course of putting together the lunch breakfast program, it had come to my attention that the school board in May actually cut back quite a significant amount of food support. So as a result of provincial underfunding, you always have to think of school boards as being funded externally. Anyhow, something to check out. And also to note, in the health vein, that the World Diabetes Congress is in town this week. I went down in my role as deputy mayor to bring greetings, but spent some time there with the Parliamentarians Forum as well as the big forum, which is about 15,000 people. I had not realized that diabetes kills more people globally than HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria combined each year. So across all countries, we think of it here as a disease that attacks certain demographics, universal across the world, and hugely on the rise, in fact. So the city, to that end, about a week ago signed on to a partnership called Cities Changing Diabetes that's being led by the city of Copenhagen. Interesting website, and we're checking out. I had not thought of Copenhagen, for example, as having a diabetes problem, but it is quite a significant issue there, as it is in Africa, as it is in Asia, South America, North America. So interesting work that I'm sure staff will be reporting back on with their engagement in that new, I guess we call it a partnership. It's kind of a covenant that was signed around work that we've committed to. Anyhow, that is it, and I think I will look at the script rather than freewheel this. May we have a motion to adjourn? A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Carr. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Council will meet in camera at 11 o'clock, which is about 11 minutes from now, as it happens.